The views, comments, and opinions of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Morris Media Studios, MorrisMediaLive.com, or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
Walk it down. Oh, here we go. Welcome to Uncle Bobby's Country Corner, where real men don't play. And today we're having an emergency meeting of the Real Men's Club Board of Directors. One other gentleman will be joining us shortly, but for now we're going to jump this off with, to my left, the legendary Mickey Stevenson, the A&R man from Motown, amongst many other things. And to my immediate right, oh my God, have mercy. Originally from Houston, Texas. And we ain't got down like this in many, many years. Ladies and gentlemen, his name is Thomas Miles, but you know him around the world as Nephew Tommy.
Top. Yes, sir.
Welcome to Uncle Bobby's Country Corner. Man, oh man.
Thank you for having me.
Man, I got to, man. You know, we've lived in different generations. He's the baby in the group. You know,
I'm the baby of the bunch.
He's the godfather, and I'm stuck right smack dab in the middle. That's right. That's a wonderful place to be.
Well, you know where you've been and you know where you're going.
I'm trying to get there, too. And the beautiful thing about this emergency meeting of the Real Men's Club is it's necessary. The theme of this show from day one has been models of possibility and best practices.
Okay.
Marcus Garvey once famously said, "What men have done, men can do." Mm-hmm. Here's the caveat. You got to know about it.
Okay. You
have to know about it. As I look to my left, it's been long enough that I'm not going to even mention the year because he won't tell me how old he is, even though I looked it up.
I change it all the time.
But this man was a game changer in the music industry, and it happened because three brothers got together, the great Barry Gordy, the great Smokey Robinson, and William Mickey Stevenson came into an accord and said, we're going to change the music world.
Wow.
And therein launched Motown. Now, I swing to my right, many, many years later. Young brother came out of Texas A&M University where they didn't have but a sprinkling of colored folks to begin with. And he had the audacity to go into the School of Drama.
Theater major, yeah.
Oh, boy.
And become the
when everybody else was majoring in agriculture. You know?
It had to have been something, man, you know, for you to do that. Now, he was an aspiring track man at the time. You know, you could turn him over now. One thing about Texas, man, they'll
not no more. Not no more.
Graduated from Texas A&M University and decided to, you know, chart his own course. I'm going to excuse me just 1 second. Antoine Fisher late and lost. Hey, Antoine, I'm talking about you on the air, man. Where you at? Where you at?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Now, we ain't going nowhere.
Okay.
They know how I get out. He's outside, but they're going to let him in here in a minute. But we crossed paths on a play by Marvin Webster. What they call that company?
Actually, it was by, what was her name? Lisa.
From St. Louis.
Lisa Reynolds. Lisa Reynolds
yes.
Wrote a play called Be Careful What You Pray For. And Marvin Webster was actually the promoter for the show.
Right. And early into this relationship, I would see Tommy sporadically because I was working on a book called Everybody Plays a Fool with one of the cast members. The three principals in the cast were David Peaston, the late David Peaston, the great Shirley Murdoch.
Yep, still doing it.
And Cuba Gooding Sr.
Rest in soul.
We was working on a book called Everybody Plays a Fool. And at one juncture, after I got to know Tommy, Cuba asked me to become his road manager. And Lord have mercy. Oh, man, come on in, man, and grab yourself a seat, man.
He don't even know the Lord.
How are you, sir? I'm good, man.
This is something really special when you can have three trailblazing brothers come into a circle with this old country boy from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. A dear friend of mine for many years, the Antoine Fisher.
Yes,
man. Welcome back.
All right. Thank you,
Bobby's
Bobby.
Country Corner, man. Now, you know, this is a real men's club meeting, emergency. It's an emergency meeting. Before I lose any more members, you know, I figured we needed to assemble and figure out what in the world is really going on and how do we, you know, redirect the traffic, so to speak.
Okay.
Because we got so many people now that are following folks that shouldn't be followed. But with that said, I just want to wrap this up real quickly in terms of introducing Tommy properly. First time I saw the play, I watched this brother command the stage like few people do, and it's that it thing. Didn't know who he was, didn't know that he had the pedigree that he did. But for an example, man, some people hear the phrase Shakespearean acting. Give them a demonstration of what that really means. Yeah, like you got to work at it.
I heard myself proclaimed in by the happy hollow of a tree, escape the hunt, no port is free, no place that God in most unusual vigilance does not attend my taking. While I must escape, I must preserve myself, and with presented nakedness outface the winds and persecutions of the sky, the country. The country gives me proof of bedlam beggars to strike arms and mortified bare arms. Oh, God bless thee, lady.
Now, go ahead. He didn't get to do none of that in this play that he was in. He was trying to save some souls in this play, boy. And he had his work cut out for him, man.
Or the black version. Wherefore out thy heifer. I know it's the rent is due, but you take it my money and go to the hair salon and spend it on thy weave.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, my Lord.
You got to flip it for your people sometimes, you know?
And so I watched this brother put in his work, man, in a, at times, very chaotic environment. And he stayed about his business, and he impressed some really important people in the entertainment industry. And the reason I wanted to use that as an instructional tool is you guys are in the business of entertainment.
All right.
And it's a lot going on right now, good and bad. The movie, what's that movie that made all that money?
Black Panther.
Black Panther. Mm-hmm. Some people feel, and I'm going to ask that question more directly in a minute, is that an opening or is that just a temporary thing? Are we going to get in the game seriously behind that, or do we have to have a paradigm shift? But back to closing out on why this is such a special brother to me. He decided to save his money when everybody else was out there splurging on the road. He took care of his paper. And from what I understand, from a gentleman who's in the studio with me who designed this shirt that I'm wearing, Ronnie Forrest, he watched the show this morning, and he told me that Steve Harvey said on air this morning, not only did this boy make $1 million, he saved $1 million.
Steve talked too much.
Now, it would seem that he's cheaper than chitlins were in 1922. But in fact, he's not. He's just an industrious brother. And I watched him, save his pennies on the road while the rest of it was eating out and stuff. Tommy was taking care of his paper. And then when the play closed, how long did the play run, Tommy?
I don't know, a couple of years maybe.
At least 2 years.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good run.
That's a good run, isn't it?
Yep.
And he impressed. Oh, man, they set records all over the country, man. Oh, it was an amazing thing. The sister that put that together, Lisa, did an incredible job. And because he comported himself the way that he did, he impressed the stage manager, this real hillbilly white boy. I'm talking about Bama chewing, backer chewing, all of that.
You're right, though.
He saw this cat, man, and he made a phone call to this other dude who staged productions.
Yeah.
And he ended up opening for Luther Vandross for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Till Luther died.
Yeah.
Wow. Yes,
they sent my back then we had VHS tape. So they sent my tape to Luther, and his manager told me that that Luther's opening act, who was another comedian, was going to be gone for a week. And I said, okay, cool. Then they said, we're going to look at your tape. If it's good, then we'll drop you in for a week. So they put me in. I think I was in Rochester, New York. And, I opened up for the big man for about 15 minutes. And Man, I got on the stage after. I cried like a baby. I said, I didn't open up for the greatest crooner of all time.
All time. Yes, sir.
And at the end of the week, man, they said, the tour manager came to me and said, hey, the boss wants to keep you. I was like, well, okay, but what about that other dude? He said, are you really worried about the other dude? Nah.
You said.
I don't even know him. And for 3 years after that, man, was on the road with Luther Vandross from United States to the UK, all over.
And then when he suddenly passed away, he was at another crossroads. And both of you know about crossroads, and we'll get into y'all's situations in a moment. What do you do? Because he didn't get a chance to get ready for that. It just happened, you know. Yeah. And we were staying in touch, man. And he said, man, I'm coming to L.A. I said, what you going to do out here, man? He said, I'm pitching my tent and take it from there.
I came to L.A. Luther was on hiatus, and when I got here, Steve said, come on up and talk smack on the radio. And I said, okay, cool. His manager actually called me and
Rashawn McDonald
said, hey, come on up and hang out with Steve, and I just want you guys to talk smack like you normally do. And I said, okay. I said, what time? He said, get here about 5:30. I said, cool, I'll eat dinner early. He said, no. In the morning. I'm like, what? We hang out till 2, 3 in the morning over here while I'm hanging out. So got up, man, went in there for about a week, 2 weeks straight, and they fell in love with Nephew Tommy. And that was 13, 14 years ago. So it's amazing how, you take a entertainment, you're a theater major, and you think that, oh, my God, I'm going to be a Broadway person. And then you peel off, and next thing you know, you're doing stand-up comedy. You're like, how did I get here? And then you peel off again, and, oh, my God, I'm doing radio. So, to be in so many different lanes of entertainment is crazy.
That's a gift.
But a blessing.
Yeah.
So
all that time I thought you was his nephew.
Yeah.
I bet a lot of people think that.
No, I am.
You are?
yeah, he's a nephew.
Well, then.
He's a nephew. He's a nephew.
I got it, honestly.
Oh,
and,
okay. Well.
And, the beautiful thing about it was when he came to L.A. and we reconnected, he said, man, I'm doing this radio show, man. And I said, well, you got any freedom? He said, yeah, I got a little bit. I said, well, you always, jabbing at your uncle, man, about not having enough resources and stuff. So we staged this bit where I knew this cat had an insurance company, right? So we went over to this guy's insurance company, and he called into the show. He said, oh, I'm over here, man. You've been looking kind of peaked here lately, man, and I got to insure my interests. Still like, where the hell are you at, man? And so he was that kind
trying
of
to get life insurance.
Yeah, man. He was working on getting a policy to cover his uncle,
That's
in the event something happened. And
my job has always been come into the show and just be the clown and come from the left side of the brain where people don't even see it coming. That's the job. That's the gig.
It's a lot of fun to listen to. I know that.
Thank you.
I had to guard my kids' ears. I told you.
Yeah, you did.
But we can't resist. Even the kids can't wait.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Now, the most important part of who this brother is, and likewise for the two of y'all, is y'all have allowed other people to, enjoy the ride in certain ways, through relationships. And he's got cats with him, man, that was with him from the very beginning, and most importantly, his first lady is still rock steady with him.
That's wonderful.
Rock steady with
that's
him, man.
A gift.
Since sophomore year in college.
That's a gift.
Yeah.
Wow.
Rock steady, man.
Yeah.
And he's got a guy who's in charge of collections. Have mercy.
Stop. You need one, just in case. And I'm sure this gentleman's seen that a many days.
Oh, my Lord.
We played it real nice. We got ours.
And see, the beauty of this show is live and it's real, because I had the presence of mind to say these guys need to know each other. And before we started the show, they exchanged some ideas and just, just what they do without really knowing each other. And then I had an opportunity to put Antoine and Tommy on the phone.
Well, he is at that advanced age.
Oh, my goodness.
That's good.
And it plays into the theme of models of possibility and best practice, because you don't have to drag people when they're ready. And they already, comfortable in the skin that they're in. And the object of having these brothers come together, and we've talked about this individually, people don't really know each other in this industry the way I thought that they did, because all of y'all got your own names. But, y'all don't necessarily know each other.
Right.
And I think for us to break through in the entertainment industry and to be able to get a bigger piece of the pie, it's about that. Finding projects and opportunities where people that just naturally fit in, you know. And for this moment, you just completed a project that is going to be historic here very quickly. Are you able to speak about that on any level?
The Columbia picture?
Yeah.
Oh, they don't like for me to tell the story, but it is a historical story. It involves the civil rights era, of course, but and modern times. Met at a prison called Parchman.
I know about Parchman.
In Mississippi.
I ain't been there, but
the past and the present met. It's like a really extraordinary story, and that a lot of times we want to forget about some of those things, and in some ways we have to, but in a lot of ways we have to remember, even if we remember amongst ourselves, because once you think that those days and those things don't matter anymore, then you're opening yourself up to them happening again.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who tell the world they won't forget, but we have to remember, and it's not just so it won't happen again, but it is our history, and that we survived.
Right.
And, I was thinking about Black Panther. I grew up in an era where if you said Black Panther, I thought you said Huey P. Newton. Even though I knew about the comic, but I did. That wasn't my first thought. But for a lot of young people, they don't think of Eldridge Cleaver or what's the brother in Chicago? Fred Hampton.
Fred Hampton, the one who got murdered, and then there was Bobby Seale.
And all of those guys.
Yeah.
And so
Newton.
A lot of people from my era probably, not that I'm
including me,
Bobby. A lot of those people, they had the same thought that I had. So a lot of the success, I believe, of Panther is not simply because people like the Black Panther, even though it's a beautiful movie. Yeah. It's but you see people dress up in African attire, not because only the characters dress in that way, but because I think that we've been looking for a long time to see ourselves in our glory,
right,
so to speak, and in a way that presents ourselves as strong and powerful people, and even the black women and dark black women and men in a way that we've never been depicted on film before. You have to say it's historical in that way because we've never been depicted in the way that Black Panther had shown
Not once.
Yeah.
Not once. And so the magic is not in the Marvel comic. It is the marvel of us as black people.
The presence that we are.
That's right.
Have you seen it, Bob?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I didn't know what was going on.
Not on bootleg, Bobby.
No,
Okay. You can't be the board of directors.
Right, yeah, right.
With the bootleg.
I paid to see the movie, man.
Okay.
And my ears started hurting because I can't take all that noise, But it was very well done. They spent a lot of money on it. And my question as I was watching the film is, when do we go to that next step and get a bigger piece of that? Because the salaries for that, I think
it was low.
Yeah,
it was low.
Yeah.
But I think this springboards for more projects to happen. I think Hollywood is able to see what we're capable to bring to the table now.
But you can't disregard the ingredients that made the movie successful.
Okay.
Because we've been making movies. We can make people laugh. We've been doing that too much.
Right.
And we've been making people horrified. Been doing that, scaring people, doing the whole thing, robbing people, doing the whole thing. That hasn't been successful for us at all in film. But you find a way to bring people out to the theater. They put their finger on it. I'm not sure if they're aware of what they touched.
But can we touch it again?
Yeah,
this happens in here.
Can we touch it
We
again?
can touch it again.
Can we touch it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we have to be fed something we want to eat.
Okay.
I see both of
it's a
y'all's
taste.
points.
Okay.
You know,
Right.
now we've been, I mean,
Okay.
we make the world laugh.
We make the world laugh.
We can sing. We can fly from center court and slam the ball. We can do all that.
Exactly.
But on this particular note, there's a button that was touched. that's
And
never been touched
let's
before.
give that button a name, though. What do we call that?
Glory.
Okay.
Glory.
What do you call it?
Glory.
Glory. Now, here's a case study, if you will.
Okay.
This brother has transitioned from the music industry
Oh, man.
into the theater realm. I had a question I wanted to ask you real quickly. Did you have any participation in the transition that Motown made into the film business? Because y'all did the Billie Holiday story and that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
well, before that, I went out. Barry said, we got to stretch out. And I said, okay, we got to get into theater. He said, what's your game plan? I said, okay, let me go into New York and see which producers, which show that we can bring what we do into what they're doing and make it happen. So I spent maybe 2 months. And I even stayed with the guys who did one of the major shows there. I can't think of their names. And I even stayed in the house with them because I wanted to see how they put it all together. So I came back with some information that meant something. Man from La Mancha was the play.
Okay.
And the two guys that kind of worked that out. And they were proud to talk to me because of our music, but I was in joyfulness to talk with them because I was learning something about theater we had no concept of. I did feel, and so did Barry, that's why he told me to go ahead and try it out, that if we put our music into that kind of arena, we could touch an audience that have not been touched. And I say this for, bring it back to the, I'll get back to this, but on the Panther thing, it touched an audience that was asleep. And it woke them up. And it woke them up because they saw themselves. Man, that's a winner.
Yeah.
When that happened, they didn't care whether you liked it or not. I got to see this movie. And I had to see it 3 times with my different areas of my kids. They go from here to here to here, right?
Right.
Each one of them would say, Dad, you got to go see this. And I had seen it. I said, yeah, let's go see it again. So each time I would go, and each one of them had what you were saying. They felt the pride of. One of my daughters took the hair off, went another way. Yep, followed me. I saw it happening right before my eyes.
Right.
Now, for me, dealing with the industry, I bring them deals. I deal with all the major film companies and stuff, and I say, okay, listen, you guys are missing it. And I gave them a whole layout, even on the Tyler Perry stuff. They missed that too. A whole other audience brought, whether you like it or not, he brought an audience to the table.
Yeah.
And I said, look at the numbers. You want numbers? Here are the numbers. And I said, just before this picture came out, I had some information. I said, okay, this is going to be phenomenal. They said, what are you talking about? I said, the audience that was touched between Tyler and Oprah and all that is nothing next to the audience that's going to be touched by this target market audience piece of product. Of course, I had a couple of deals hanging to guarantee that if they made the money, I could do maybe 3 or 4 pictures at a certain amount of money per year. And they said, but that's impossible. I said, okay. When it took off, my phone started ringing. How did you know this? I said, we've been here all the time. If you check the records, we and Hispanics spend more money on entertainment than any race in the world.
Since we've been here.
We do this because this is our relief.
That's right.
You do it as a choice. We do it because it relieves us.
We stressed.
We stress.
That's why Marvin made that song "Make Me Want to Holler." Throw up both my hands.
Yeah.
Hey, Portis, we still got the call on. Let's see who has
Sorry, I
picked
got
up on this
sidetracked,
line.
but I was
No, it's all
No.
flowing like a river. This is Uncle Bobby's Country Corner. Who am I speaking with?
This is Darnell from Detroit.
Detroit, Michigan.
Motown.
Welcome to Uncle Bobby's Country Corner, man. What's on
How you
your
doing,
mind?
Uncle Bobby?
Yeah.
I got a question for Mickey Stevens.
Go ahead.
Mickey Stevens, I'm a big fan of the Magnificent Seven. and one of my favorite songs is "It's Gotta Be a Miracle," this thing called Love.
Mm-hmm.
And my question to you is, how was you able to compose a superstar group like the Four Tops and a superstar group like the Supremes? How was y'all able to compose them to make that work? Because I never really seen that before. I never seen that happen where you take a guy group and a female group, all star studded, and make it work. How was y'all able to compose that?
Well, I got to tell you that you can work with talent, and help develop things, but the gift comes from God. You cannot give them talent. You can only work with what they have. And my gift was to be able to work with talent, and that's how I made it come off. You can't take them otherwise. I mean, you can try all you want to. If they don't have it, now we all have talents. Now God has given us more than one. Some of us have 3 or 4 different things we can do. To develop them, we got to have people that believe in you, love in you, and help you work with it. And you got to believe in yourself. When that happens, you can put almost anything together. And that's how we made it work.
Hey, brother, thank you for the phone call, man. Appreciate that.
Appreciate y'all. Y'all be good.
Yeah, keep watching. Hey, we're going to take a short pause and be right back because this thing, it always goes real fast, man. So we'll be right back.
Right black?
Yeah.
That's from my board of directors.
That because it's not like that anymore. But you have to remember that.
Okay, we're black, and sometimes the outtakes of shows are better than the actual shows because the conversation that just take off where you were actually, in terms of what you were discussing. You made a point about nourishing young talent.
Yeah, the time is better now. The only hindrance I feel for young people, talented people. And when I say talent, not just in films and movies and play, I'm talking about the doctor roles, the operation roles, the computers, and it's a whole other talent that's been given. Gifts been given to all of us.
Wide range.
And and it's up to the parents who are coming younger, which makes it a little more difficult, to insist that their kids develop these gifts. For that, they got to work with them. The problem I'm finding is that 8-hour school 8 hours sleep, 3 or 4 hours study. That means the communication between the parent and the kids has been cut down to the system is now the parents, and we get a little time to work with the time we got. We got to figure out a way of changing that.
Yeah. And then when the parent is young, like you say, they're still struggling with their issues too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, well, you know what I mean.
I
when you
blame
put it
technology.
Well, when you put it that way, the village broke down. The elders are not positioned in the modern era to teach. We didn't have any choice. All the way even back to your generation, especially our generation.
You keep putting me in your generation.
Yeah, he's working on you.
Man, stop.
Okay, you're right, because actually you were a bad person to use an example because you had to raise yourself.
And I was a baby.
Yeah.
I was a baby, man, when you was rolling around, man.
I'm the baby of this bunch right here.
And one of my aims, when I finally realized that I've had enough birthdays not to ignore them, is to try to teach, man, to reach young people and say, hey, hold on, man. I got somebody you need to meet, man. What do you want to do? You want to do that? I know somebody. And that part is absent now. You know, when we see young people, you mentioned talent. Even if they don't know what they're doing, give them options. You know, give them some options to work with. We have somebody on the phone right now who I've known for many years. He's also a Shakespearean actor, graduated from the University of Notre Dame. And too many folks remember his seminal role in the movie 5 Heartbeats. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome with me to Uncle Bobby's Country Corner, the great Hawthorne James.
How you doing, Bobby?
If I was doing any better, I had to take something for it. I'll tell you who I got in the studio with me. I got Nephew Tom.
I know who you got in the studio. I've been watching and listening.
That's my man.
Exactly who you got. And I got history with two out of three of them. I don't know Antoine.
Okay.
But I tell you, and I know Mickey because of the fact of Inner City Cultural Center.
Okay.
Wow.
And Cliff Rossmore.
Yes.
Okay.
The inner city was the most important place. Steve Bernard Jackson, most important person in my life. Right underneath that, Cliff Rossmore. Those are long stories, but extremely important. That's how I know Mickey.
Oh, wow.
And Uncle Tommy. Give me a break.
That's nephew, man. Hold on. I got this uncle stuff locked down, man. Hold up there. Nephew Tommy, yeah.
Nephew, all right, nephew. I've known Tommy a long time.
That's my man.
But I'll tell you something quickly about Tommy. This is a quick story, and I've always wanted to say thank you to Tommy because of this. He had a good friend who passed away, and she lived in Houston. And it was at a point in my life where I was broke, damn near homeless. And Tommy just out of the blue called me up and said, look here, man, you want to come to this funeral? Tommy paid for my flight down there, and he paid for my hotel room. Out of the blue. I didn't ask Tommy to do that. That's the person Tommy is. And I say thank you to Tommy all the time.
Thank you, brother.
Wow, man. That's breathtaking, and it's inspiring because these are the kind of stories that we need to illuminate. The relationships and the impact you have on people's lives in our culture is diminished by the fact that we constantly show these other images of us tearing each other apart. Right. So I thank you for giving us that moment there.
Those images are highlighted. We're not doing the highlighting all the time either.
Okay.
So you can, even in your own life, can tell stories of just so many stories.
Acts of kindness, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like we're neighbors and we're family, and I run into Tommy and we don't know each other, but start talking as if we've known each other our whole lives because we come from the same place.
Right. Yeah,
that's true. So what are some of your thoughts of the show today in terms of the theme, models of possibility and best practices, and how we can utilize the strength of the tribe to affect change in the lives of people here now and generations to come, Hawthorne?
Well, I think that, once again, this is extremely important because of the fact that, see, my last 9-to-5 job, I was at one of the highest black executives in Hollywood. I was an executive at TriStar. I was head of the post-production ancillary market. That's how I know. That's how I met Barry Gordy because I set up all the screenings for The Last Dragon, etc. But I rocked the boat at TriStar. I tried to bring black projects in there, and I told those people, you have an audience that is untapped. And I've been saying this for 30 years. And it's so nice because Antoine, I don't care if it makes $5. It makes more money than it costs to make. Mm-hmm. And it always does. Black projects, unless it is just a complete piece of junk, always make money. Always, and always have. But they ignored it. Well, now, you can't ignore, the Black Panther. You can try and sweep it under the rug, which, trust me, they will try to do. They will try to tell you why it made so much money. And then say, but it can't be done again. And then they'll take that money and they'll put it into a new Seinfeld.
Wow.
So that's why he ain't working.
Wow.
Like he should be working, because he's not going to bite his tongue.
He never has. That's what I like about it.
You do have to be careful if you want to eat.
Yeah. Well, eating. Here's how. This is why this is got a point.
That's the difference with me. I don't care anymore. Y'all can kiss my butt. Y'all ain't. I was homeless. Y'all ain't cared about me. I'm still not making money. I'm making money through independent projects of black people. So why am I going to hold my tongue? You know the job this week? If I hold my tongue, nah, it ain't happening with me anymore. Y'all can hold your tongue if you want to, but it's not going to happen with me.
Well, I think we can meet in the middle on that in terms of like the people that have to play different parts in this game.
Absolutely.
And the respect that we garner for identifying the people who can pull that off. It's like that movie, The Spook Who Sat by the Door. They didn't see him coming. And we have to have a stealth element as we go forward, and not, pressure people to get out of their own comfort level necessarily. As long as their heart is in the right place, I think that we're at a point now where we can bring some people together that otherwise didn't have an opportunity to come together. Everybody stay in their particular lane, but the objective is still the same. I don't know anybody, even Ben Carson, for example. And I say even because Ben did...
This is a stretch right here, but go ahead. This is a stretch, but go ahead. I'm trying to listen to this in very close detail. You done brought Ben in. Come on.
Let me tell you why I brought Ben in. And I wouldn't have done that until I talked to somebody.
I know Ben Carson.
I know you do. And that's why I'm making this point.
Okay.
I was ready to have him boil in oil until this brother told me the other day that quietly Ben has put some money in the street in black communities in Baltimore and a couple other places.
In what way?
In terms of housing. That's what he's in. He's in that position. The problem is he didn't tell nobody he did it. At some point, you got to let folks know.
Maybe he can't tell nobody.
Well, he can tell them, but he's going to get fired anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like with Colin Powell. Colin Powell, after they threw him to the dogs.
Okay.
He leaked Bush out of office. You see what I mean? But there's always a piece of us that, that's who we really are. Now, I'm sorry I even brought that up because we ain't got enough time to go down that road, especially since you...
I'm trying to digest it, Bobby. I am. I'm not the only... Hawthorne's on the phone. Everybody's trying to digest it now. I'm not by myself.
Okay.
I have to say, I knew him when he was a surgeon, not as a politician.
Okay,
so
all right. Let me pivot out that lane before I end up coon of the month,
No, I'm not that.
No, not you, but I'm just telling you that black people would do that to you, man. When Jim Brown went to meet with Donald Trump, he wasn't with a cup and some pencils. He was looking for a line item, and when black folk got through scalding him, man, I had my dukes up.
Right.
You see, so we have to really sometimes look at different positions and say, all right, at the end of the day, for the next 20 minutes, how do we impact the lives of people that look like us by finding a way to work, I hate to use that word, together, but it's necessary.
That's what it's going to take.
Yeah, it really is, man.
And it's just different people playing different positions.
Right.
Absolutely. And see, that's the thing about me is I told you I do a lot of independent black projects. Most of these people have no clue what they're doing. But when they call, I'm a listen to them. And if they've got an open heart and an open mind, I'll go the whole 9 yards and won't make any money. If Tommy calls me, I go whatever Tommy wants. If Bobby Glanton Smith calls me, I say, Bobby, whatever you need. and anybody else, because I want to work with us. I'm willing to work with us because I think we're great. I think Antoine has not gotten anything close to what he deserves at this point. And if there's something that I can do to make that happen, Tommy, if you haven't seen Tommy stand up, you're missing a great comic.
Thank you, brother.
So, and I'm willing to work with others until you prove to me that you're not worthy of my time.
Well, I'm glad that you put it that way because I want to pivot into a project that we were discussing before the show started.
Right.
The Azusa Street project. Kind of share with the audience what you're working on right now, because you got a couple other projects, but the Azusa Street thing, it has a special...
And he's educating me on it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to produce the Azusa revival in a musical format, and I'm also going to do it as a film. And it was an incredible moment in 1906. And check it out, and then make sure I get a chance to talk to him. I want to make sure I talk to you again later.
Hawthorne, he's talking to you.
You got that, Hawthorne? Huh?
Okay, yeah,
Okay,
got it.
Look it up. Azusa Street. Azusa Street. Okay? You may know about it. I didn't. When the committee called me and asked me, could I help them bring this alive again? And what they were talking about is the Holy Spirit came down on Azusa Street to a little church and brought in speaking of tongues, talking in different languages, laying on of hands, people being healed. Of course, it sounded like, and to me, show business. When I started doing my homework, I found that it wasn't show business. They also brought in people who started hearing about it and coming in from all over California, coming in just to see because they didn't buy it either. They had the news talking about it. They tried to make it something else, but it kept growing and growing and went from, say, 15 people to 17 people to 700 people. Now the religion, which is Pentecostal, is 800 million people. All started with William Seymour, black man, preacher from slave family, brought this whole thing together, and it made it happen. I would say, of course, it's the Holy Spirit anyway. Now, I'm a believer in the Lord, no question about it. Was I buying laying of hands, people falling out? Show business to me. I had to find out that is not true. In reading that story and looking at it and talking to other ministers all over this city and in other places, because I called around the country, they were aware. I still had my doubts. I went to 3 services each Sunday with a guy named Dietrich Padden, singer, gospel singer. Sounds like Marvin Gaye, but he sings spiritual songs. The guy's incredible. I was going to record him and my son, who's a producer, put them 2 together to make music. In watching him sing on opening, what they call the service, they do first thing they do in the beginning.
Praise and worship.
Praise and worship. While they were doing the praise and worship, and I was saying, this guy's incredible. Then when the praise and worship was over, he started preaching. I said, what? And I'm hearing him, and he's doing an incredible job. He comes down off the pulpit, walks over, had people come up, of course, start talking to them, laying hands, they're falling out. That's the part I don't like. and right. Going on there, and I'm saying, yeah, right, okay. Still sticking to the music, of course. I said, let me go back next week and see if this is what's happening. I go back the following week. Now, the first week, I'm sitting next to 2 or 3 people that I'm talking with. Second week I go by, he go up there again, does his thing, love his voice. He does his whole 9 yards, come down, and a couple of people that I sat with last week that I know is not crazy, they get up, and he lays hands on them, and they fall out. Now I'm saying, wait a minute, something's happening here. My son has a prostate problem. I called him. I said, look, man, I know you got problems and everything, so I saw this guy lay hands on some people, and they were better. I say, why don't you come and go with me next week? And he said, Dad, you know how we think about that. I said, I know, but I'm seeing something else go down. I said, what you got to lose? You got a problem, so if it happens, if it works, you better off. He said, okay, Dad. The third week, I'm going in. There's another preacher preaching. Now I'm disappointed.
Because your guy ain't there.
My guy ain't there. And my son is sitting next to me. This guy does a whole sermon, blah, 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 blah. Comes off the stand, walks over to about 12, 13 people, healed them. One white woman in a chair, heavy. He made her get up and start walking. Even he got excited. Now I'm saying, oh, wow. My son's sitting there. He's heading back to the pulpit. The preacher has stopped, turned around, looked at my son. He said, you got a prostate problem. The Lord told me to tell you. And went right now. I'm in shock. My son's in shock. Nobody knows this but me and my boy, right?
Right.
Told him, he said, and we got to believe it's going to be healed. The devil going to tell you it's not going to work, but you stay with it. And it's going to be, we leave. I'm almost in tears. My son said, Dad. I said, how you feel? He said, man, I feel better. I said, now, you remember what the guy said now? You're going to have some more problems, so don't act like it ain't coming, but you got to stand your ground. You got to believe you're going to be healed. He said, okay. So now, when I get home, it looked like the Holy Spirit slapped me upside the head and said, pow, you believe it now? I say, I believe it. So I'll go back to the Azusa committee.
Okay.
I say, I'm taking the project, but I'm going to do it my way. I said, you've been working on this for 12 years, and you went nowhere. Now I'm here, and I don't want any of your old ideas. I got to do it this way, and I got to do it now. I got to bring it to life now. So the Holy Spirit never went anywhere. We just got comfortable. It's time to wake up. And I can do it with music, but I need everybody involved, and I want all spiritual people that believe in this show. And they say, well, I don't want your cousin. I don't want your brother. I don't want none of that. If they can't do the part and have the feeling, it's not going to work. Mm-hmm. And that's what got me into this thing. And I've been at it ever since, nonstop.
Wow. You know, that was a great story.
Woo, what a story.
True. It's absolutely true.
Well, do me a favor. What's Dietrich? That's Dietrich's name, right?
Haddon.
Dietrich Haddon.
Yeah.
Haddon.
Yeah. You know who he is?
I know Dietrich.
Oh, okay.
He can blow.
He can blow.
Yeah.
And he produced a show called
He had a little
Preachers on something.
Yeah.
The Preachers of L.A.?
Yeah. He produced that
okay.
and told a couple of preachers, say, how could y'all ride around in them cars and the people come to church ain't got no money?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that cut that show off kind of quick.
I remember that show.
So we need to get somebody to go lay hands on Cadet Bone Spurs in the White House, man, before he have all of us, just all over
I think the hands being laid on there. I think the women going to lay their hands on it. They have not stopped.
Ain't nothing can take it down.
Well, you know what,
woman scorn.
My uncle used to tell me all the time. He said, son, a woman will jump up on the table at the sight of a mouse, but she'll bring a man down big as a house. And they flooding in there on him now. I think about 4 women today done came out and said, you know what, that non-disclosure agreement, I got the phones ringing, and they said people gonna cover that money, and I'm gonna tell who you really are.
Wow.
And we're living in some fascinating times. We got about 10 minutes left, and I want to use that judiciously, because this took a lot to happen. It took years to happen. I haven't seen this brother since the NAACP Awards about 3 years ago, and before that, it'd been maybe 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
And I wanted to get these cats together because we are in a position uniquely to start looking at problems from the standpoint of not woe is us, but what can we do? So, Antoine, I'll start with you. What can we do, man, to affect change with the gifts that are collectively in this room to advance a new methodology in terms of living on this planet, man?
Well, this is a deep question.
Of course it is. You're a deep guy, so don't be
well,
trying to...
I think about my own community a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that, not that, nothing can be done with some of our contemporaries, but mostly I think about the younger people, understanding that whatever gifts they have don't directly come from them exactly. I remember when I was a kid in Cleveland, you walk down the street, people really singing, like they can sing. They can do all kind of things. It didn't mean nothing to me because everybody could sing in my neighborhood. You go to church, everybody could sing.
Right.
You know, so it wasn't like, you know, you go to the schoolyard playground, everybody's slamming the ball. Everybody's shooting way out. You know? And so I grew up around people who, I think I read an article in New York Times where these people I grew up with and am a member of were magical. Some people think we're magical people. It's probably a little more than that. But for people looking at us, I was picking my daughter up from school today, and she wanted to introduce me to this Korean pop singer. This brother could sing soul music. And he was rapping, and I was like, wow. And the music was like soul music. And the bass, the 808, was like Rick Ross. It was like, I mean, the effect that we have on the world. When I was stationed overseas and living in Japan, at a time when you go to New York, people walk around with their linoleum rugs and they spread it out on the corner and start breakdancing. They was doing that in Tokyo. I mean, we're the slaves, right?
Till we break out of them chains and they're around our forehead.
So there's something, I think that there's something about us that we have to always make sure that the young people understand that you don't always have to reach out. You can reach within because there's a lot. I never went to college. I'm dyslexic. I can hardly read. I mean, because I have a anxiety situation. A lot of people, when they know I write movies for the studios, I write books and all that, they don't know what a struggle it is, but I enjoy it so much.
I fight through it.
Overcome that.
Yeah, I don't feel the hard part of it. You know, so I tell my daughter, come in and read this to me that I wrote. You know, and she reads it to me, or I use sometimes programs that the blind use to read to me from the computer. And so there's always a way to I was born in prison. I wound up sitting in the White House in the president's apartment. So anything can happen, but you can't always look. Young people can't always look outside themselves. What society says you have to do in order to get to this place. We may not have the opportunity or the or the tone or anything to get to that place the way society has set it up. But if you search around inside yourself like a big bag of tricks, you keep looking, you'll find it somewhere.
Well, and I should have started this a little earlier, and I hope we get another occasion to do this. I'm going to go through Tommy here. Tommy?
Oh, I wasn't sitting in this president's South.
No.
That wasn't the business.
It was another president.
You be on the lawn.
Oh, yeah.
So, Tommy, your thoughts, man, as we begin to...
I think, I think society is different. I think our children are growing up in a different way than the way we grew up. So, but I think it's up to us to instill in our kids what possibly they don't know. You know what I mean? Me and a couple of my buddies were talking like, I have a son that's 6 years old. Do you know he was born and it was a black president? He had no idea that this ain't normal. You know what I mean? This is not normal, partner. You came in on a nice sweep right here.
Yeah,
so it's just, I just think we have to kind of backtrack a little bit and show them, hey, here's the trail we've been on. And kind of give them the layout of the land. And I don't think we've laid out the land. I mean, you gotta understand we're completely different. When you and I were growing up, we went outside. Everything was outside. We stayed outside
all day.
You didn't come back in till right before the street light came on.
Yeah.
That was the way of life. That's when you found out what your talent was. I'm good at this. I'm good at that. I'm just so at this. And you kind of start figuring out who you are. You can't figure out who you are on a couch with a remote control in your hand. It's impossible.
That's impossible.
You know, so our children are not even finding out what their talent is till almost too late. Unless we stay on top and say, hey, we're going to pick one. We're going to do something. You know what I mean?
Help 'em.
You got to help. And if we don't push them towards something, my son's 6. I got a golf club in his hand already. Might not be good, but we're going to try this. So it's just about us removing ourselves of not being in their way, but at least giving them the guidance of, hey, we're going to go out here, we're going to try something, and this is how we get to the next level. But we got to give them the history of where all this came from.
Absolutely. Right. Hey, Hawthorne, I'm going to let you back close that. Yeah, give me a minute or two. Your thoughts.
Well, you know, like you said before, it's me. I'm not trying to tell everybody else what to do. All I can do is tell you what I do. And what I do is, once again, you and I are in agreement, apparently. I go to prisons. I go to youth authorities. Whenever people ask me to talk, I will go. And one thing I tell those kids all the time, I say to them, I'm not going to be here in your life all the time, but I want you to know I expect you to be great, and I love you. Yeah. Because when I was growing up in Chicago, those nuns expected me to be something. They expected me to be great. When I went to public school in Michigan for the last 2 years of high school, my grades went in the school because those people didn't expect a damn thing from me. It was only when I got back to college and those priests looked at me and said, hey, this ain't you in class here. This ain't time to clown. And I shut my mouth up, and my grades went right back. That's why I graduated from Notre Dame. That's why I graduated from the University of Michigan. That's why I got scholarship offers from Yale and Cornell.
Come on, boy.
That's why I went to London to study at the London Shakespeare Academy. That's why. But somebody expected me to be great and gave me the opportunity. So I'm totally willing to give anybody an opportunity. I spoke, somebody called me up 3 weeks ago, and I was speaking at a church. I couldn't imagine myself to be speaking in front of a congregation. So that's what I do. You know, there are things that I do. And so you don't have to follow what I say. Just look at me and take what I do if you want to. That's it.
Okay. With that being said, you can catch Nephew Tommy and Hawthorne in Azure, the movie coming out very soon. All right. Watch us work now.
There's one piece of it. And he done claimed that, and while he's at it, Tommy asked me when he got off the phone with Antoine the first time, he said, I'm looking for somebody to help me write my one-man
piece, yeah.
One-man piece. I said, you just got off the phone with it.
Yeah.
And so I'm claiming that because there's a sensibility there. There's a synergy there. And I can see that happening. Godfather, I'm going to let you close it out, and I'm going to just put a little tap on it after that.
I just want to say this. Each one of these gentlemen, including the one on the phone, really said the same thing. We must pass on the information to the young people. We got to take the time. If there's a minute that you can give them some information, give it. Because if you don't, you missed and they lost.
Ooh.
So we got to do that. If we constantly make that happen to all of us at any given time, that will help change and give them courage and strength and belief in themselves because they got some information. Because they'll take it from us.
That's right.
But y'all said the same thing, different ways, but everybody said the same thing.
Yes, sir.
So as I close out today's show, I want to thank Antoine Fisher, my big brother, Mickey Stevenson, my baby brother, nephew Tommy, Ronnie Forrest, who's sitting in the studio. He designs clothes, and he's all that power to the people stuff, too. Yeah, I got you on that, Ronnie. And there's a brother out here listening. He lives in Fort Worth, Texas. His name is J.D. Jameson. He started watching me when I was doing the Corey Holcomb 5150 show. And you don't know how you touch people, man.
Right.
And that's what we've all done in different ways is try to, leave some footprints worth following. And as I close out this show, I look at it as the beginning as opposed to the end of this show because I had this in mind a long time ago to just bring some brothers together from different walks of life and leave that imprint out there. So I would like for everybody that watches this show to share it with some young people and to let them know that there's some brothers out here that have set a way for them to go, not necessarily in the same discipline you're going to be in, but the fundamentals are the same. Everybody that's sitting here that I'm with today has demonstrated discipline, vision, tenacity, persistence, and belief in self. So as I close out the show today, I want to thank y'all once again for letting me be myself again, I got to say this, the sister in the room. I know this is Women's Month.
Poetess.
And we got a show enough ride or die sister by the name of Poetess that has put this studio together. Right. And thank you so much, Poetess, for allowing us to, be a part of what it is that you've built here. So until next week, we out of here. Thank you, brother, so much.
All right.